So before we get into this video, the topic I want to discuss, because I was coming upon some interesting things very late last night that looked interesting, but could be a little deceiving. I don't know, but I just want to point some things out. Back in 2018, Hyperkin showed off this Ultra Boy, a Game Boy Color clone console. That was over 5 years ago. Whatever happened with that? Nothing. We haven't heard nothing about that at all. And then 2021, we heard about the Hyperkin Ultra 64. And yeah, where's the talks about that recently? We haven't heard anything. And then last year, we heard about the Retron GX, the little PC Engine TurboGrafx 16 clone console. Where's the news on this thing? So just to put it simply, Hyperkin is a company who they've made products I like. I'm not talking down about them, but they're a company that they seem like they got big dreams and then nothing ever comes of it, right? Like, who knows? Maybe some of these products could eventually come out at some point. Maybe they're just in extremely long development. I have no clue, but just realize Hyperkin, they do like to tease things, show things off, and then nothing ever comes of it. Things don't get spoken about on them for years. So that leads me to this. I saw this post late last night, and I see some retro game weirdness, and I'm just like, what? And then I see FPGA, and I was a little confused. So I was looking at this post from this Twitter user, X user, whatever the hell you call it nowadays. But this person was stating, I was intently looking at the 3DS compatible machines at Tokyo Game Show when a staff member who couldn't speak English told me, it's so cool. This is the FPGA Super Famicom, perfect compatibility. Like, where's that? I don't see a Super Famicom right there or any Super Nintendo stuff. But then this is a FPGA Saturn, perfect compatibility. This FPGA PS2, perfect compatibility. That's a PS1, maybe. I don't know. And it was like, what's going on? Like, you look at some of this stuff, like, okay, this is a 3DS right there. NES with the weird box. And then you have a Sega Saturn, like a Saturn Mini. The heck? So I had to start digging into this. PS2 games underneath a PlayStation Classic. What? So I guess that's, yeah, like some things can be a little confusing there. And I'm scrolling through. There's even more. Game Boy Advance, Game Boy. This one right here, it looks like they found out it's like a little Ryzen 5 machine, an emulator machine. Maybe it's like you pop in a 3DS card. That kind of, I'm really curious to hear more about this thing than a lot of this other stuff. But I mean, if it's emulation, it'd be kind of cool. You pop in the cartridge and it dumps the ROM and you can emulate it, like an emulation-based 3DS clone console. That would be kind of neat. But they state the 3DS compatible machine is a Ryzen 5 emulator machine. I haven't heard the details, but I think it's Citra. By the way, you could also play PC games. So it could be like an all-in-one type thing. I don't know. It looks intriguing. It looks intriguing for sure. But all the other stuff was what I was really curious about, digging through all this. So I was doing some searches, and I ran upon this article on Game Watch, which, you start really digging into this. They're talking about this Sega Saturn, and if you just lead off of one thing that you see, then it kind of turns into like, well, oh wow, they're making a Sega Saturn Mini, but they're not. There's a lot more to this that's going on here. So they're talking about how this company was demonstrating technology of a mini console that runs Saturn discs. Okay, judging by its appearance, this device could be described as Sega Saturn Mini and is secretly placed at the back of this booth. Although it's just a prototype as part of a technology demo, you could actually play Darius 2 for the Saturn. The key point of the technology demonstration is that it is using like FPGA rather than an emulator. And then there's another one where they're talking about the Retron FPGA. But there's not a lot going on in this this article to really explain what's going on. So I found this post on Reset Era that linked to that actual article where there's a bit more of a discussion on it. It looks like Saturn Mini shaped, console running Darius 2. Probably just cool tech demo. So I start finding people who had wound up translating some of this stuff, talking about talking about it a little more. Like, this is nothing official with Sega, the Sega Saturn Mini. Let me find the post down here. So they also talk about the Retron FPGA, which was just mentioned, and we seen in all those pictures. So what is this? This is Hyperkin. That's why I said in the beginning, remember who Hyperkin is. They're a company who makes some retro products, but they tease a lot of things, and then nothing ever comes to fruition. FPGA fun, simplified. So that kind of looks neat. Hey, there's a bunch of Sega Genesis ports for controllers, Super Nintendo, NES, that kind of thing. Wow, so like an all-in-one system. Kind of sounds similar to something that, a lot of us have out there. Mr. FPGA, right? Look at this thing. It's just a prototype, right? It's just demonstration purposes. But let me see. So there's a lot of people here talking about FPGA, but then I think there was a spot where somebody translated some of the signs, or they talk about it. Yeah, like right here, from the note on the desk, looks like it's literally Mr. FPGA plus snack adapters for the controllers. So, it's from Hyperkin, this company, Tasai Denki. I believe they're like a new distributor type of thing. So probably just working with Hyperkin, demonstrating some of the stuff Hyperkin wanted to put up. But at the bottom down there, yeah, Mr. FPGA, and then they talk about snack and all that. So you got all that going. It's just a demonstration. These guys didn't put together anything. So like right here, this person, from the bits of the Japanese I could read, it seems to be just a concept mock-up. Says it's a demonstration of their Makuyaku, which is target goal objective, using Mr. Snack and some other stuff I can't really read. It literally also says this is not the real device. So it seems like an FPGA Mini Saturn is just a theoretical device they are showing that can exist using existing parts on the market. Maybe they set it out there specifically to see if they could drum up interest. And that's exactly the way it seems. Like with this Sega Saturn Mini sitting there, that's some big stuff right there, right? But it just looks like a bunch of devices. Like, I don't understand what this one is. I think it has the same thing where it talks about Mr. FPGA. So like multiple little consoles and things like that are all hooked up through this system, possibly. But then like right here, it's like, oh, that looks like a PlayStation Classic, like a PlayStation Mini to me. They're just using all these weird little things to demonstrate the possibilities. But Hyperkin, they're a company, they've produced other devices that can run, retro games that use software, like the little Retron Square, the little Game Boy system, the Retron 77 Atari system, where it's like they make the shell for it, they source the board, and then they use somebody else's software to actually run it. So with something like this, the Retron FPGA, are they going to make their own FPGA cores? Is it going to be supply your own? Is it going to be like they just take from other developers out there? And if they do they get permission to do so? Like, these are all things that we don't know. I've seen some posts where they talk about Hyperkin's hoping to commercialize this in 2024, 2025. So there's still a ways to go, but don't be surprised if we never hear anything about this again. But I do like seeing how like some of these pictures with these consoles, they have like cartridge adapters and whatnot. Like, that's kind of cool. And, Analog's the only company like making a commercially available device. Everything else is DIY, homebrew type things, put it together yourself, Mr. FPGA. And with the Analog products, like a lot of them get discontinued. A lot of them are hard to get. So if another company can enter that market space and actually make something people can acquire that they want, that would be cool. Like I said, I like the little cartridge adapters. Like, hey, you could use your original cartridges, and maybe you could just load up ROMs. We'll have to wait and see. But knowing Hyperkin, this may be the last we ever hear of this thing. But I do appreciate you guys watching. Let me know what you think on all this stuff, the Retron FPGA, the Sega Saturn Mini. I do appreciate y'all. Have a good one. Bye.